The United States are unravelling fast. Mass protests and violence from coast to coast after the death of a black man under the knee of a police officer. Curfews and crackdowns in dozens of cities. In New York, some of the most confronting scenes, including a police vehicle ramming protesters. In Washington, D.C., there have been riots at the White House and cars and buildings set alight in Los Angeles. The governor has declared a state of emergency with hundreds of people arrested and widespread looting of businesses in iconic locations. In Minneapolis, where George Floyd died during an arrest, the National Guard fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters, violating the curfew.
Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go!
Our own journalists and cameramen have been caught up in the chaos too.
Cam, they got me in the arm, Cam. I need to get back to the car. Go.
Tensions have flared across more than 30 states. America is on edge and there are new demonstrations this morning. This is a live look at Washington, D.C. at the White House. Protesters have swamped the area and are at a standoff with police as we go to air.
We have our 7 News US team on the ground. First to a media brace at the White House, and a wall of protesters has gathered.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. As you remember, about 20 minutes ago, this group behind me were hit with pepper spray. They dispersed running this way towards me, but they've slowly made their way back in. Now, just as you were running through that intro, something else has happened in there. Another group went running, but it's definitely fair to say that this standoff is intensifying. Now, after the incident where we did see that pepper spray, that was a result of missiles being thrown at police. We have seen bottles and we've seen eggs being thrown at these police who are protecting the White House. A huge reinforcement force came in from the corner of the White House to provide backup, another line of defence to protect the White House where the president is today. Now, what these people want, what they are demanding, is to hear from the president. We have not seen Donald Trump since he attended that rocket launch in Florida yesterday. He has tweeted a number of times today praising the National Guard, which we've seen on the ground in numerous cities, including LA and Minneapolis, praising the Secret Service, who we can see here protecting him, and also lashing out at these protesters and the anti-fascist group Antifa, who he believes is responsible for amplifying this anger here today.
OK, US Chief Ash Mullaney is in Minneapolis where this all began. Ash, the National Guard has been out in force.
Yeah, they have. They're not taking any chances tonight. They want to try and avoid any more looting or arson that we've seen over the last few nights. There are groups of protesters marching through the city at the moment. A sixth straight day of demonstrations demanding justice for George Floyd. We have seen a significant shift in the approach by police here in Minneapolis overnight, with police ordering protesters off the street after 8 a.m. Of course, the fire that has started here in Minneapolis now has spread right across the country. A wave of violence washing across America. What began as peaceful protests quickly descended into chaos. Buildings torched, shops looted and guns at the ready. From ground zero in Minneapolis, the rage is rippling out to other cities. Now spanning from Portland to Tampa in Florida, police and protesters head to head. In New York, there were harrowing scenes as police drive into protesters barricading their vehicles. In Atlanta, officers taser a couple resisting arrest. But in Michigan, a show of solidarity.
We want to be with y'all for real. So I took my helmet off and laid the batons down. I want to make this a parade, not a protest.
Law enforcement is not willing and wanting these kinds of protests that turn violent. That's not what we go to work for every day. We're responding. What we want is a peaceful protest that gets the message out, that causes change, causes movement.
The sentiment for change is spreading.
Come up with a better way, because how we doing it, it ain't working. He angry at 46. I'm angry at 31. You angry at 16.
Curfews are now in place across dozens of cities. The National Guard and Minneapolis Police Department sweeping residential streets, firing paint canisters to keep people inside.
Go inside now! Get in the house!
As tributes grow in this city for the man whose death sparked a wave of anger. There is still so much pain and anger and anguish in this city at the moment. Protesters last night met with over 10,000 National Guard troops last night, and we are expecting another heavy police presence on the ground here in Minneapolis tonight.
Paul Caddick is in Los Angeles, and Paul, there's significant damage right across the city this morning.
Good morning, Koshy. Yeah, that's right, after what happened last night. But you can probably you might be hearing some sirens in the background for what is happening right here in Santa Monica. As we've been reporting, there has been a protest happening in support of justice for George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. But sadly, in the last half an hour, things have changed. The protesters have been still peaceful down near the Santa Monica Pier, but just behind me here in another block, things have taken a different turn. There have been people who have gone in there. We know of at least 3 stores that have been broken into where looting has been going on. Police have now responded to that intersection. We've also sadly seen someone suddenly attacked by the crowd as people were removing things from the store there. This is what authorities had feared. Where we are at the moment is an area that was closed off yesterday and boarded up for fear that this might be an area that troublemakers would want to target. But at the moment, that trouble is happening just a block away from us. We've seen a police team respond. Another one you might have heard just going in now, and we've just heard that the city of Santa Monica has declared a curfew for 4 p.m. local time, which is in 1 hour. That announcement coming just as this new trouble has started. As I say, police now trying to deal with looters. Sadly, as protesters who are trying to make their point peacefully further away, now that is getting drowned out by the police response to what's been now happening.
We must not allow any who feast off of chaos, who hunger for division, who want to replace peaceful protest with images of a nation coming apart. We must not let them win.
The Mayor of Los Angeles speaking there. He has also declared a second night of curfew for the entire city of Los Angeles, starting at 8 p.m. in about 5 hours from now. The National Guard is now here in LA, called in yesterday. They are on standby to respond to other incidences. We know of a couple of other rallies happening across the metropolitan area, where authorities also keeping a close eye on, as well as what's happening here in Santa Monica. Guys.
Okay. Thank you to all of you. We'll check back into America soon.